Hi, this is Pat Fraley, purveyor of dystopian villain voices, and you're listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
Oh my gosh, this is so great!
Welcome to The Pullbacks Origins Episodes. Join TFG1 Mike as he grills this week's guest on just how they got into reading comics and more. So sit back, relax, and enjoy The Pullback.
Hello and welcome to The Pullbag. This is another Origins episode, and before we get to Order 66 in episode 66, we are going to do another Origins episode here in the month of April. I am your host, TFG1 Mike, and in the chair this week, in the electric chair this week, we have Mike Lacey. Hello, sir.
Hello. What's going on?
How are you?
All right, not too bad.
Not too bad, not too bad. I'm trying to remember, what other shows have we worked? I know I was on an episode of Masters Chronicles, but this can't be your first time on Geekcast Radio Network.
No, we've done a couple of episodes, a couple of Maddie rants in the past.
Okay, yeah. So I've been actually trying to nail Mike down for a Pullbag Comic Origins episode for about 6 months or so now, I think. It might actually be longer if I look at the Facebook messages.
I've stood you up for long enough.
Wow, that sounds so wrong. All right. Considering you're married, I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. Oh, boy. All right, so for those that don't know, for those who are first-time listeners, the Origins episode is where I sit down with someone and ask them how they got into reading comics, or in some cases I even ask how they got into drawing comics. So that's not the case this week, but Mike is he's wrestling with his Masters of the Universe fandom at this point, I would say. And throw in a little turtle soup as well. So when did you was there a moment when you were a kid that your mom, your dad, or someone said, "Here, kid, read this comic, leave me alone"?
Well, there was a lot of leave me alone, but not so much of putting the comics in my face. No, nobody really ever introduced me to comics directly. The way that I got introduced to comics was through Masters of the Universe mini comics, the little mini comics that came with the figures. And as much as I love the figures, I always loved seeing that mini comic in the back. And when I was at the store shelves looking at the different figures, sometimes the same figure would come with different mini comics. So I would always make sure that when I did pick out my figure, that I would pick one that had a mini comic that I didn't have. So that was probably my first real introduction into any kind of comic book form.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of spoiled on the new generation. I can't read a lot of old comics. I found out doing this show, doing the Punisher body count stuff, or the Punisher month stuff, and doing the Marvelous March stuff last month, and the older the comic, the less it intrigues me as far as the art style and the way it looks. And I prefer my Batman black, yellow, and gray, not blue, yellow, and gray. Ooh, thank you very much.
We might disagree on that one.
Well, okay. Adam West is a little different, but in comics, I prefer the black outfit for Batman than I do the blue and gray.
Well, you know what? I think I prefer the blue and gray because my introduction to Batman was like through Super Friends. So Batman's always been the blue and the gray. See, I've never been a big fan of like the completely black costume, the one introduced in the '89 Batman.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, it's an awesome costume. It's just not what I prefer. And it seems like that's the way we've gone all the way through all these different movie franchises, from Burton to through the Nolan franchise. Yeah. But from what we're hearing is that maybe the Batfleck costume might be blue and gray. A little bit of hints been sprinkled through the internet here and there, so I'm looking forward to that.
For me, it's pretty much. I shouldn't just say the whole, the black costume on the whole. I mean, like the new Batman Adventures when they switched from the original BTAS design to the black and gray. So the cape was black and the shirt and the pants were gray and that kind of thing. And then I do like his Justice League suit where it is kind of a amalgam of blue, gray, and black, and that's interesting. Um, what were some of your favorite characters growing up reading comics?
Well, I was always a Marvel guy. Spider-Man's always been my number one character. Um, and that's probably my introduction to actual real comic books as opposed to the mini comics. When I was a little kid, my favorite show was always that 67 Spider-Man animated series. And
Mm-hmm.
they used to show it all the time on TV. So when we would go to the supermarket or to the drugstore, because they didn't have, or at least I wasn't aware of, actual comic book stores back in the early to mid '80s. Whenever we would go
Yeah.
to the supermarket or the drugstore or whatever like that, there would always be a spinner rack with comic books on it.
Oh
And
yeah.
so that's kind of where I always gravitated to. And every time we would go in, I would probably pick up a Spider-Man comic.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember those days. Those for me were like in the mid 90s once the animated series hit. Um, and yeah, for me, I like Spider Man, but there's only so many times I can see Spidey fighting Doc Ock or fighting Rhino or fighting whomever. I really dug the whole change up of Superior Spider Man recently.
Oh yeah, what
I,
Stan Slott's doing right now is absolutely amazing. For me, the thing that gravitated me towards Spider-Man was the fact that Spider-Man was a kid, and I
yeah,
was a kid. And
right.
Spider-Man was always dealing with fighting the bad guy, but also getting his schoolwork done, and helping Aunt May do whatever needed to be done, and or dealing with girl problems, whether it was Gwen Stacy or whether it was Mary Jane. So it was something that a kid could relate to.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and see, for me, that's kind of like on my side of it, that's what Grayson was for me, Dick Grayson. Okay, he's not just Batman's sidekick. He's not just the first Robin. They tried to grow him into his own man as Nightwing, and Nightwing for me is more relatable. Like Batman's the legend. Batman's the guy you want to, that you aspire to be, but you never will be. I mean, so like for me, oh god, Nightwing, I love almost. Now I haven't read a lot of the old stuff. This is just like New 52, the current stuff, and
Right.
and the animated series are just so awesome. Uh, so that was what it was for me. And you've kind of already answered the age old question. So you are a Marvel guy. Uh, I think you did say to me on Facebook, I'm a Marvel guy, but I'm not one of those Marvel snobs.
No, because you know what?
Right.
I do love Marvel, and those were the characters that I grew up with first. Um, like I said, the '67 Spider-Man cartoon was real big for me, but also so were the Christopher Reeve Superman movies. So as much as my allegiance is to Marvel, I'll tell you right now, I probably as far as your well, DC has the Holy Trinity, but as far as your top names, DC probably has the stronger character set. Going, just running right down through the Justice League with Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Flash. I would put those guys over the Avengers probably any day.
All right, here's a question for you. Which Green Lantern and why?
Hal Jordan because he's awesome. I know I have a feeling because I know you that you're going to be a John Stewart guy because I know how much you love the DC animated.
John Stewart and Kyle Rayner all the way. However, I will say it was amazing when Angel voiced Hal Jordan in Justice League New Frontier. David Boreanaz was the voice of Hal Jordan in New Frontier. I did like that.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm gonna say Hal Jordan because again, Super Friends. That's where I got introduced to all of those. Aside from the Christopher Reeve movie, that's how I got
right.
introduced to all of those characters, and that was Hal Jordan.
Yeah.
I'm also gonna say Hal Jordan because Hal Jordan really is what got me back into DC with the whole Jeff Johns rebirth.
Right.
And since then, I think that was 2005 or somewhere around there.
Mm.
Aside from Spider-Man, Green Lantern's probably been my favorite comic character since then.
Yeah.
Just the amazing things that Jeff Johns did, bringing Hal Jordan back into the fold, I thought were absolutely amazing. And then going right through Blackest Night and Brightest Day, they're just some of the greatest stories that we've had in the last 10, 20 years.
Yep. And next year is GL's 75th.
Yeah, so hopefully it'll be. See, I actually liked the movie. I didn't have a big problem with the movie. I just wish that it had been more of a box office success, because I have a feeling that the next time we see the Green Lantern, it's not going to be in a solo movie. It's going to be in a Justice League movie, or it's going to be in. If they might work him into one of maybe the Flash TV series or something like that, and on their way to a Justice League movie. I really wish. See, Ryan Reynolds always tends to play Ryan Reynolds, and I think that kind of was that kind of detracted from the movie itself. But all in all, I didn't think it was the train wreck that everybody says it was.
Yeah. Ryan Reynolds doesn't play Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds has been playing Van Wilder since he ever was Van Wilder. Hal does have the sharp tongue, the sharp wit, but he doesn't have the humor of Van Wilder. Oh God, no. Oh. And that movie has come on like FX and FXX and FXM so many damn times in the last, I would say, 6 to 8 months. And I've actually DVR'd it like 5 different times. I've made it exactly 20 minutes into the film, and I deleted it.
Oh. Yeah, I think Ryan Reynolds probably would have been better cast as Wally West Flash.
I can agree to that. Yeah,
and
I can agree to that.
I think if they had gone that way and done something different for Green Lantern, I think it would have been better. Like Bradley Cooper, I think would have been a better choice. Now, Bradley Cooper wasn't, in the mainstream at that time. I know that right around that time, he was in the A-Team. He did Face in the A-Team, and that was kind of one of his first big roles that I remember seeing him in. So he might not have necessarily been on Warner Brothers' radar as far as a casting choice, for Hal Jordan for the Green Lantern movie.
Yeah.
But I think that Ryan Reynolds was miscast. I don't think he was terrible, because the writing wasn't exactly the best. You again had the problem with too many villains with Hector Hammond and Sinestro.
Yeah.
And the whole Parallax Galactus cloud monster.
Oh my God, yeah.
But all in all, I think that elements of the movie were pretty good. I wish that we could have seen more of the core, more time on Oa. I think would have really fleshed out who the character is and what the Green Lantern Corps is all about. I think it also would have, because obviously with the after credit scene, you see Sinestro put on the yellow ring and become the Sinestro that we know. Obviously, they were setting it up for a sequel that I don't think we're ever going to get. So,
probably not. All right. What are some of your favorite current storylines? For any, it doesn't matter what character or anything.
Well, I love what Dan Slott's doing with Superior Spider-Man. Now that's coming to an end, and we're going to get Amazing next month in April. But I love that storyline. I had started reading Zero Year, and I'm not quite caught up on it yet. But what I had read was pretty good. I liked the whole thing with the Riddler and everything.
Yeah.
What they're doing, what IDW is doing with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, is absolutely phenomenal.
Oh my God, I do those reviews here in the pull bag with my buddy Joe Reed, and we just finished recording the volume 3 because the way we're doing it is Joe's reading it single issue in continuity order, and I'm reading it in trade, and I'm having to split it up because that's one thing as much praise as I give IDW, that's the one thing I think they kind of screwed up on, is doing the micro series kind of out of order, because micro series, 2 of the stories in micro series volume 2 chronologically do not happen until like issue 20 of the series. So it's like, oh god. And the other day I picked up the volume 4 off my table, and I'm like, oh, okay, they're Turtle Twister. Okay, wait, I gotta put this down. I can't read this right now, because if I read it, I'm not gonna be able to go back and give it a decent review. Because I'm one of those people that when I do stuff for the Pull Bag or for any podcast, once I watch it or read it or listen to it once, I then have to go give my opinions on it almost immediately.
Okay,
Because
so it's fresh.
So it's fresh, and so I don't feel like. So I don't have the feeling of, oh, I've read this before. Like if I read that trade a week ago and Joe and I came in today and I'm like, okay, I can't reread it because I already know all this crap. It's one of those things. But yeah, no, the Turtles IDW stuff, I was a little worried in the beginning because I was like, oh no, they're all have red bandanas, damn it. But then, the switch.
Yeah, it didn't last long.
That was awesome. How they're doing. I'm only up to issue 13 at this point. I haven't started issue 13, and they're doing everything they possibly can to be the greatest Turtles story ever told.
Yeah, I love the way that they're doing the story. I love a lot of the new characters that we are getting exclusively for this series, like Old Hob, and Alapex. I don't know if you've gotten to Alapex yet. If you're okay,
yeah.
I tend to forget kind of where they come into the story, but they're just such great characters. It's like the new animated series where now Fish Face and Dog Pound, and now we have guys like Tiger Claw, and now Dog Pound has been turned into Razor kind of thing.
I'm just wondering where they're going to get a Toka from.
Well, we discussed on a recent What the Shell that maybe that is what either Zevver turns into, or maybe Slash might get double mutated the same way the Dog Pound did.
I could see Slash getting double mutated. That'll be interesting. That was not at all the voice that I thought was going to come back to do Slash. Like, when I heard that Corey Feldman was coming back, I'm like, yes, 2 Donnies, awesome. Wait, no, it was awesome. Slash is awesome, but it wasn't what I was expecting. And then thank God the Nick Turtles is Union. Because at the end of the Manhattan Project, oh my God, they better do an actual crossover.
Well,
like, somehow.
See, I don't know if they're going to do another crossover. What I'm hoping is maybe that we just get an entire episode set inside of that portal, all animated and voiced, by the original cast, and done in that 87 style animation.
The only thing I want out of that, as far as the voices go, I want 87 Raph and 2012 Donnie to have a conversation
with each other,
so I can point out to people that yes, even though it is Rob Paulson, the voices are different. Everyone says, "Oh, Donnie, he's just Raph. He'll always be Raph." No, they are completely. Oh God, it's not just because I love Rob Paulson as a voice actor, but it's because of the inflections he puts into Donnie. There was that promo for the recent Krang episode. I don't remember what it was, where Donnie says, where Raph asks him, "What are they doing, Donnie?" "Oh, gee, Raph, they're having a Sweet 16 party." "How am I supposed to know?" Just the way that Rob does Donnie's voice. Oh, like in one of the very first episodes of season 1, and I know we're not talking about comics right now, ladies and gentlemen, sorry, but one of the very first episodes of season 1 where Donnie is like, "How am I supposed to fight advanced alien technology with a stupid stick?" It's like, oh, it's just so good. But yeah, no, the Turtles IDW stuff is so well done, and I love how they're doing the animated adventures ongoing, where they're kind of like mixing in with the show, but they don't actually have it's not actually in continuity. They're not actually using the animated adventures comic to do long story arcs for
Right.
itself. Absolutely love it that it's a companion to the show. I will say that the comic did the weapon switch episode a lot better than the cartoon did.
And it's good for the kids. It's good for kids. Like I have a 9-year-old son, and it's good for him to be able to get introduced, because a lot of today's comics are not necessarily written for little
For
kids.
children, yeah, no.
And even Dan DiDio said that they don't. DC doesn't write comic books for kids. They do comic books for 40-year-old men. So I have a hard time giving my 9-year-old son a Batman comic book. So it's nice when they have like the new adventures, the new Turtle Adventures, but they also have like Little Gotham and stuff like that you can give to the kids.
Yeah. I would say that Nightwing might be a safe bet for kids, but I don't know. It's not as violent as Batman, but it's pretty deep storytelling. But it is nice that DC does the whole kids kind of all ages group, like Scooby-Doo Team Up. The latest issue has Scooby teaming up with Batman, Robin, and then Batmite shows up. And then you're not reading that series, are you?
No.
Okay, spoilers for anyone who is reading the Scooby-Doo Team Up series. And then, so Batmite shows up, and then after that, Scooby-Mite shows up. So they have two warring factions of fans between Bat-fan and Scooby-fan. And then at the end, Robin's superfan Larry shows up. He's like, Shaggy's like, oh no, here we go again. But yeah, no, I mean, like Green Lantern, the animated series, that had a kids all ages comic. I love what they're doing with that kind of stuff. I think it's great.
Well, see, that's another thing that I got into when I was a kid, was the whole Star brand of Marvel Comics, where they did all of the licensed stuff. That's where they did the Masters of the Universe comic. That's where they did the Thundercats comic. Not only that, but even under the regular Marvel brand, they had a Transformers comic, a Star Wars comic, a G.I. Joe comic. It was a lot more kid-friendly there at that time.
Yeah. And I mean, even IDW is getting on the kid-friendly brand. They just launched Rocky and Bullwinkle for the first time in comics again. They've got Dexter's Lab coming out if you ever like that show. They have They basically have all of Cartoon Network licenses. Anything Cartoon Network you can ever think of that's original, like Powerpuff Girls, Dexter's Lab, Foster's, any of that kind of stuff, IDW has and is probably going to put out a comic of it.
Well, it's smart, because that's where you get the hooks in them. You can't just let Boom have all of the kids, all the kids comics there. That's where they have Adventure Time and Regular Show and all the stuff that is geared towards young readers. Now, they might not necessarily stay there, but at least you get your hooks in them young, and then they can continue to grow.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's the beauty of it. All right, what are you hoping to see in stuff that you're reading now?
Just good stories.
Yeah.
I'm like I said, I'm really loving what Dan Slott's doing with Superior Spider-Man. I can't wait to see how Peter has to handle all of the fallout that comes from Doc Ock being in his body for the last 2+ years. So I'm excited to see that kind of thing. I'm really excited for Jeff Johns taking over Superman. That starts. I believe that starts next month. Batman 0 Year should be coming to an end, and I don't know if the new series is going to pick up right after that ends, or if it's going to now fall into a current timeline. But Scott Snyder's been, knocking it out of the ballpark with Batman. It's one of the best series out there on the shelves right now.
I love the Court of Owls. Death of the Family was a little anticlimactic for me, and 0 Year is like someone trying, and as a person who doesn't do this, who will never do this, 0 Year for me is like someone trying to get that one last drag off of a cigarette that you just can't get. Like, it's like down to the nub in your hand. And it just, there was like several issues I absolutely loved of Zero Year. My whole problem with DC and the Batman stuff right now is that they are dragging it out. I loved issue 28 though. The preview, the 5 years ahead preview. I love that for the preview for Eternal. I don't know how Eternal and the ongoing are going to work together. I do know Eternal does start this month, the first 4 issues, and I'm really interested to see where that's going to go. What else? With Transformers, I haven't been. I've been getting the Dark Cybertron issues, but it's been one of those slow burns for me.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm really more excited about is to see the entire dynamic shift, because Megatron is going to be an Autobot. Optimus is going to be leading the Autobots on Earth. I find myself, because DC basically gave me the middle finger and canceled my favorite series, I find myself really diving off of superhero stuff. Like, I've got so many plans for the pull bag that is superhero, but I've also got plans for Transformers and Turtles and some other independent kind of stuff, some other series kind of stuff, but DC's been dragging me down lately, and I am most definitely a DC guy. If only they'd come up with their own channel like Hasbro did. That way, superhero cartoons could actually exist without having to bow to the whim of crappy Cartoon Network.
They do tend to kill series off.
Kill series, they don't even let them have a chance. To hell with just killing them off. It's like, hey, we spit you out of our womb. Bang, you're dead. It's like, oh, God. All right. Any other comic stuff you want to talk about?
Have you been watching the television of comics? Have you been watching Arrow? Have you been watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Arrow, I watched the whole first season. I've watched maybe 1 or 2 episodes from season 2.
Oh, the second season's so much better.
Oh, no! I know. I've heard it. That it is. I got to catch up, but it's one of those things that I tried to DVR and I don't know. It just wasn't grabbing me in the moment. So I think I'm gonna have to wait until the second season DVD thing happens. I don't think you've ever seen. You might have not ever seen my posts about Mr. Phil Coulson. In my opinion of him, what is the point of causing his death to bring the team together, to only come back and say, "Oh no, he's not really dead. That we're gonna take away from this emotional moment in the movie, so he can come back and be on friggin' TV." Oh God, I would have liked it better if Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was Coulson as the life model decoy. I really would have. I really would have. But outside of that, I can kind of get over that. Outside of that, I don't like any of the other characters on that show. I liked Skye in the beginning because she's hot. Let's face it. But and she had a little bit of an interesting twist there. But I think I stopped watching after 7 episodes.
See, I think the second half of the season has gotten so much stronger.
I'll have to go back.
Yeah, I'm starting to like it more and more. Arrow, I think, has been really strong. The last half of the first season and all of the second season, I think, have been amazing. All the stuff that they're doing with Deathstroke the Terminator. I'm not going to spoil any of it for you, but I think that whole story is working out really well. I'm super excited for the Flash series. Yeah. I think that I'm sure if it was 1 or 2 episodes, it kind of run together for me. But the episodes that Barry was in the Arrow show, I thought were really good, and was a good setup for the new series. Now we're getting a Gotham series. We're getting a Constantine series.
I am so stoked for Gotham. I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's Gotham. It's going to be the cops. Bruce Wayne is still young. What's the point? So this really isn't Batman on TV when they've expressly said whenever the series ends, whether it's after the first season or after the second, whenever it ends, that's when he becomes Batman. So, as someone who has yet to, I plan on reading Gotham Central, but I've seen that kind of thing with the GCPD, with the whole corruption and Gordon fighting it with like Year One and stuff like that.
Right.
I like those kind of stories because I like Jim Gordon. I think he's a really cool character, and I always wanted to know more about the GCPD, not just their relationship with Batman. And Donald Logue as Bullock. Oh my God, that picture! Oh my God, he's spot on, Bullock.
Yeah, see, I think that these TV series are kind of the perfect supplement to the movie franchises
Oh yeah.
because we know who Batman is,
Yep.
but we haven't spent a whole lot of time with with the side characters, and I think this is a good way to flesh them out. You're not going to give them their own feature, so I think this is the perfect way to really get to know the different characters of the universe. I think that's kind of what they're doing with Shield, because I think that you're eventually in Avengers 2, I think you're going to get you're going to get some of these guys from the TV show get a little bit of the spotlight put on them in the new movie.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the Flash. I think that's how they're going to work him into whatever Justice League franchise that they do, because it's a little late in the game for them to do it the Marvel way and give everybody their own independent film and build to a Justice League film. So I think they've put it on the fast track, because now obviously we've got Superman, Batman / Wonder Woman already put in there. If you have, you've already got an Arrow TV show, you're going to have the Flash on TV. I think that if you shoehorn a couple more characters into, like I spoke about earlier, maybe you get some kind of a Hal Jordan appearance, or whatever incarnation of Lantern that they want to use into the Flash TV show. It's just kind of building, and then maybe they can get it worked in that way.
It'll most likely be a Hal movie, because that's the one that they want to promote. I don't agree with it. I think it needs to be either John or Kyle, but that's just me because I like those guys. Yeah, my fears about this whole Batman Superman thing is why. Okay, I get currently that Batman is slightly more popular than Superman. Batman's everywhere. But Superman did just have his 75th anniversary, and they did launch it with the new movie with Man of Steel. But why? Why won't you let Superman's franchise breathe with a standalone sequel first, to have us as the viewers go ahead and get through what happened in Man of Steel in his own sequel separately, and then by the third movie, that's when you bring the team up in.
Well, that's because you're already talking about it being 2015, 2016 by the time you can get a Man of Steel sequel, and then you're talking about what, 2018, 2019 before you'd be able to get another film out. By then you're on what? By then you're on what? Avengers 4.
The rate Marvel's going, yeah, probably.
Exactly. So it's kind of like they got to keep up with what Marvel's doing. They've got to get something out there, which is why I think that it looks like such a train wreck. That everything is just being shoved into the blender and put in together.
We did an episode of Altered Geek, which is our unofficial flagship show. We did an episode of that, and my buddy Steve and I said, just call it what it is going to be, Justice League. That was my thing in the beginning. Why not, instead of doing what Marvel did and build up to the Avengers, why not start with the Justice League, and then the following films can follow Batman or Superman or Wonder Woman or
because originally I don't think that was the plan. I think that DC and Warner Brothers are kind of just flying by the seat of their pants. I think they originally planned on doing a second Superman movie, and that there was so much talk about that there was a Justice League movie, in the works, 2-3 years ago, and they were recasting everyone. that they were going to recast Batman while they were still doing the Dark Knight franchise. So I think they've been trying to do it, and they just can't figure out how to do it. It's kind of a whole thing that they just don't know how to make the movies that people want to see. They keep saying that the world isn't ready for a Wonder Woman movie, yet Marvel has a raccoon with a machine gun.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still gonna see the movie regardless. I'm just so sick of hearing every little tidbit or seeing every little oh, this rumor here, oh, that rumor there. And I know they're just rumors. I know they're not true, but it's like overload. And what really, and other people have probably heard me say this, but my biggest thing is I get you have to promote a brand. I understand that, but they started promoting Batman Superman 2 years before it was supposed to be out, and now it's another 2 years since they moved it back to 2016. It's like, oh my god.
It's because, I think it's just because they're changing everything on the fly.
Yeah,
I think that they might be a little too much of listening to the internet. The day after Man of Steel premiered, they greenlit a sequel, which is fine. I mean, whether people liked it or not, people were going to go. It's a superhero movie. People are going to go and see it. It's going to have a big opening. I don't think that they expected the backlash that they got, and that's when they're like, "Oh, well, people had a problem with Superman. Everybody loves Batman. Let's get Batman in there." So at Comic-Con they announced that that Batman was going to be in the Superman movie, and then I think that they kind of were like, "Well, if we're going to put Batman in there, let's put Wonder Woman in there too. Kind of more is better, bigger, faster, stronger." Whether it's going to work out or not, I don't know. A lot of people are having the same complaints about Amazing Spider-Man 2, that they're just having, you're just adding characters. My problem with, with all that is I think that Spider-Man's going to do it right, at least from everything that I've seen. I think that...
Well, the only characters that are, okay, sure, you've got Harry and you've got Norman, but they were in the first... Well, Harry wasn't, but Norman was in the first film, kind of briefly. And then you've got Electro and Rhino. That's only technically 4 characters, and Norman's in the background.
But who? But
Huh?
even then, you see in the trailer where Peter's father is like, I kind of have to expose what Oscorp is using my research for, and in the back you see the Vulture's wings, and you see Doc Ock's arms, and you see that they're moving towards a Sinister Six.
Yeah.
So.
But that might be in like Amazing 3 or 4.
Right.
I mean, I don't think that's going to be in the second one.
No.
They'll show the suits, but yeah.
But I think they're going to handle it right. I think that they've seen the fallout from Spider-Man 3. So, even like having Rhino in there, I think that and I think it's even been reported that he's going to have a very small part in the movie. I think that might be like one of the opening sequences. You kind of see what Spider-Man's been dealing with since the aftermath of the last movie. Maybe like a little montage of him fighting other people, and that's where the Rhinos fit in. It seems pretty clear that the movie is going to be Electro-centric, and that you're going to have Harry in the background kind of planting seeds.
Yeah. I just hope that Amazing 2 does not do what Amazing 1 did. Amazing 1...
Be awesome?
Be what?
I mean, be awesome?
No, I hope Amazing 2 doesn't do what Amazing 1 did, where they did this whole scene in the trailers about, Peter, we need to watch that boy because of who his father is, and whatever else, whatever the hell else Osborn had, or whatever the hell else, whoever that guy was that was talking to the lizard. And then once you get to the movie, that scene's nowhere in the movie, and it's the end credits scene. And I'm like, seriously? That's a waste right there. We've already seen this in the trailer. So I'm hoping that they do a better job with the end credits scene this time around.
I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't know what I don't know if I've seen your feelings on the trailer for Guardians.
I still have yet to watch it.
Oh, you haven't seen the trailer yet either.
I don't even. It's not that I dislike Guardians of the Galaxy. Let me state that very clearly. I do not dislike them. I don't know the characters that well. And for me, I'm one of those really true kind of mainstream franchise guys that, I didn't even see Cap when it first came, Cap First Avenger when it first came out. I waited until it hit Netflix almost to see it. And I loved it. I thought it was great. But Guardians is probably going to have to be one that I see after it comes to media, because unless it's X-Men or Spider-Man or Batman or Transformers, or hell, even if they finally get Masters of Grayskull off the ground, it's just one of those things where I can't get into it. It's just not my thing.
See, I think that and I think it will, but I think that if Guardians does well, dude, that's Marvel's license to just do anything. They could do they could do a Spider-Ham movie, and it'll make $1 billion.
Spider-Pig. He's not Spider-Pig anymore. He's Harry Plopper. All right. Well, I know we kind of veered off of comics here in this Origins episode, but I want to thank Mike for taking the time. And coming up next, we are going to head to a galaxy far, far away where I and some special co-host, I don't know who it's going to be, will be talking about Star Wars Blood Ties, Jango and Boba Fett is dead, because I still care nothing about the Fetts. I like them in the movies, but let's face it, Jango got his head cut off and Boba Fett got eaten by a monster. They're not as awesome as everyone makes them out to be. So I'm going to read these trades and see if my opinion changes at all. Make your great escape into comics. We will catch you next time.
Whoa, dudes! Michelangelo here, just kicking it in the old turtle lair. Hey, listen, grab your nunchucks, ready that party wagon, and prepare yourself as the shellheads themselves. Dylan Cook and Mike Lacey bring you a pizza-rific slice of turtle goodness with What the Shell? Cowabunga!
Check those dudes out! Dudes, nuts, they're robots! Robots? Let's rock!
You've just heard the latest episode of The Pull Bag, the GCRN's comic review and discussion podcast. There are several ways to get in touch with us and leave feedback for the show. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on the episode and all of our different podcasts. You can rate our show on iTunes. Be sure to leave us feedback. Call the voicemail line, 502-526-5821. Please remember to tell us the show you are leaving the message for, and your name. Become a fan of us on Facebook by searching Geekcast Radio Network. Send us an email feedback at geekcastradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at GeekCastRadio. So until next time, make your great escape into comics and unleash the geek in you.